How's the royal family? I pray that everyone is doing well. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Tramel Taylor. Thank you very, very, very much. So, my royal family, we all know that we are in the retrograde phase. We are in the nucleus of it. And you already see the title, that there is a major, and I really mean major, power outage in New York of all places. And what I was saying to y'all when I did the other video showing examples of how the planet Mercury and the magnetic forces during this phase can affect a lot of different things. And I was saying that, yeah, we always have power outages and accidents and everything, but during retrograde, it's enormous. It's unusual and stuff. It's just not the norm. And I'm going to read a few things and also just pay attention to the videos too. It's the language too as well. So let's go over here first. And it says Manhattan transformer fire knocks out power to thousands in Midtown Upper West Side. A transformer caused a large-scale power outage in parts of New York City Saturday evening, knocking out traffic lights, stalling elevators, and limiting subway service. As of 8:45 p.m. Saturday, Con Edison reported that more than 45,000 customers were without power in an area that included Midtown Manhattan and the Upper West Side. The Metropolitan Transportation Authority tweeted that there were outages at various underground stations and trains were bypassing stations impacted by the power failure, and service into Manhattan from Brooklyn, Queens, and the Bronx would be limited. Okay, so that's major. It's affecting a lot of stuff, and that's New York. It's very, very condensed, and I would not be shocked that when it's said and done that it'll power will be taken out to they said 45,000. They're gonna say like 100,000. It's that made. They always underreport stuff because people get in panic mode. So let's listen to this little snippet here. This is just 34 seconds, and then I have some other videos too and a few articles to read as well. Let's see. Retrograde been affected me too, so let's see what's going on. Okay, let's refresh it and see. Okay, let's try this again. And let's see what happens.
Get ready for Target Deal.
And y'all share your experiences, how y'all been affected. Please. Okay.
Apparel and more this Monday and Tuesday, only at Target Deal Days.
Jackie Heinrich out on the streets of Midtown Manhattan and joining us. Jackie, as I walk...
Okay, I'm going to stop there for just a bit, my royal family. This is an update. You see that it changed because it's the same thing in the article. So what I'm going to do, because this is real time, I'm going to go and play the other, read the other articles in the, and we'll come back to this one last. So I'm going to point out something here. Okay. A transformer fire caused a power outage in Manhattan and left businesses without electricity, elevators stuck, and subways car stalled. Now I know y'all saying, oh, she's overlapping, but pay attention to language. We're trying to get people out of the subway, said a MTA source. We're trying to get people out of the elevators. It's a big mess. subway riders were walked through tunnels and led to the stations at Columbus Circle and MTA source said. Even the giant electronical billboards in Times Square were dark. Now you see that? You know, like I said, we have power outages all the time. Now you got it's affecting the subways, and it got to be really major with having those billboards out there, and it's knocking out that, because that's a lot of energy. And the word that I use a lot here, hypervia. It's a whole lot on it, those magnetic forces. And I have something to share with y'all, because I don't want to lose my train of thought. I was reminding friends and family members about retrograde, and I let one of my girlfriends know the other day, and this is deep. This is really, really deep. So I don't want to lose my train of thought here, so I want to get this out. So I was letting her know it's retrograde, and she said also planet Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter, and Neptune is in retrograde. So that's 5 planets all together in retrograde. Now, we're feeling those magnetic forces, and that's energy, and those planets communicate with each other. And this is what I will say, my royal family. I could be wrong, but I want to get it recorded, because we got a damn near like maybe 3 good strong weeks that retrograde gonna last with all those other planets, because I have never heard of that being in retrograde. Something really major is going to happen during retrograde, something really, really major, and it's going to be on the world stage. Because when she presented that to me, I was like, wow, because my dear father, because he was into all of this, and when 9/11 happened, he told his friend the day before 9/11, because he was looking at how the planets and everything were lined up, and he would do charts and stuff, and he told his partner, he said, man, it's some stuff going on in the universe, and he said something really major going to happen in a few days. And the very next day, it was 9/11. And my father was knocked down, even his partner. He said, Newman, you told me. But, he couldn't predict what was, because people, when you talk like this, some people would be thinking, oh, you're psychic, you're this, where you get that from? First and foremost, you can study these things. And also, the enemy took our science from us first. This is all our stuff. And they think this is theirs. This is ours. And it's all about working in harmony in the universe, and they don't respect any of this. And then we got our own to thinking, oh, that's some old crazy talking stuff. This stuff is real, very, very real. So as we continue on, I'm gonna play this first video here, and I love getting these type of videos where first-hand account. Okay, let's get it going.
If you're on the Upper West Side, chances are you might be experiencing a power outage right now. In fact, we've been able to gather, not from Con Ed or anyone official, that the power, from what we can see, is out certainly here all along Columbus Avenue. And if we can just turn the camera around, and we got to do this carefully now, because the street lights are out as well. We're right now outside our studios here at the corner of 67th and Columbus. And navigating and walking the streets is pretty perilous right now, because again, the street
Let me see if I can blow this up for y'all. If not,
lights are out. Our power went out in the newsroom right around 6:45 this evening, shortly after our newscast came to an end, and our auxiliary power came on, and it suddenly became clear. Let me turn around because I hear sirens. It became clear that the power outage wasn't just in our building, but it was rather extensive. As you're looking down right now, southbound on Columbus, There you go. No street lights. And that's an ambulance heading southbound as well. But back out here on the street, just getting through an intersection is a bit challenging. So if you're out and about, take it really, really slow. Pedestrians especially, because at the street lights, people, from what we've been able to see, are taking it cautiously. I see off in the distance you can see flashing lights, but again, I can't tell you what it's related to. We've reached out to Con Ed looking for an explanation. Haven't received one just yet, but as soon as we know more, we'll pass it on to you. You want to stay tuned to ABC7NY, and we're contemplating bringing you an update on broadcast as well. But again, we're on auxiliary power within the studio also. It says low network connection, so I hope all of you are getting as much of this as possible. Now looking north on Columbus Avenue, and you can see some of the cars just sort of easing their way through the intersection. Through a couple of phone calls to some friends and other people we know, we understand there's power up at 72nd Street. So that would be on the north end from what we're experiencing here, that the power comes back on. Although I can see off in the distance 72nd Street, and it doesn't look like the street lights are on there. And then we've got people down at 59th Street who said there was no power down there. So we can, from talking to people in the area, we know at least from 59th to 72nd, there's no power. I'm going to take it over to Broadway very carefully here, walking across the street on Columbus here at 67th. Bear with me. Again, we've got a power outage on the Upper West Side. We're on 67th Street. I am right now walking from Columbus over to Broadway. Broadway perhaps has a bit more traffic there. Looking in this lobby here, yeah, they have power in there. Again, I don't know if that's a generator. But again, this all happened right around 6:45 tonight is when the power went out in the newsroom. We just thought it was something internal. And then stepping outside to look at some of the shops across the street, we quickly noticed they had no power. And then one quick glance at the street lights, and it was crystal clear that this was a bit more widespread than just the newsroom. At the corner of 67th and Columbus right now. Flip it back the other way, Joe. There we go. Street light out there. And looking north on Columbus, we're going to take you here to the Lincoln Square Theater, where it's a big crowd gathered outside. So no power means no movies. So that's what everyone here is doing, sort of on their phone, just sort of trying to get the latest information. I am going to take a pause here to shoot some of this video so we can have it for you later in the newscast tonight. But stay tuned to ABC7NY for the very latest.
Alrighty. So let's go on. Oh, before we go on, this is what I wanted to remind y'all. Retrograde, remember? Chaos. Things just happen out of nowhere. Just bam. It's like, wow. And like I said, this is major because you got people all up and down the street. You could feel the energy. You can feel the energy. It's extreme, you know. I mean, it's just it never is like this. I'm not surprised by all of this. And like I said, the way I approach retrograde is with full respect. It's like, yes, I respect you, retrograde. You're going to make yourself known. The divine hand. Look at what's going on, my royal family. Last week, major earthquake in Southern California. 7.1 on the Richter scale. That's major, because when they had Loma Prieta, I think it was a 6.9. That's one decimal, and it was making portions of the Bay Bridge collapse and stuff. So it's a lot going on. Okay, Lisa Cabrera been reporting about the hurricanes. It's extreme in nature, and I said a while back, I said everything that we will be seeing from here on out will be in biblical proportions. And I said that people would be running aimlessly wandering the streets. So when I was watching the news today, the stuff that's going on with ICE, there's a lot of people that are protesting in some of the major cities and stuff, and it's like they just aimlessly just doing it. Because I'll put my TV on mute and just look at, just checking the play, just checking it out. Everything is extreme. This is some amazing stuff, my royal family, that like I said, the more, and I've been knowing about retrograde since I was a child, but once my father passed, I had to really, really learn about it. And in this system that we're in, the enemy wants us to fear this stuff. And the more that I report it to y'all and study it, it gives me a sense of power, because it's like I'm understanding what's going on in the universe, Father. And I have faith in you that you will get us through. And during that time, doing those things that I suggest, where it's like putting your life back in order, because we'll just get in these routines, and it's all about redos. Remember that. Don't get into anything new. It's like tying up loose ends. And if someone owe you money, make sure you go and check that out too. So as we continue on, my royal family, I have another video over here, and let's blow this one up.
And breaking news.
We want to welcome our viewers in the United States and around the world. I'm Ana Cabrera in New York. Our breaking news right now, a large power outage affecting parts of Manhattan tonight. Look at your screen right now. That is Times Square. That's where the ball drops on New Year's Eve. Usually you see lights all over the place, flashing lights, billboards. Right now it's dark. 42 years to the day that New York City experienced the famous blackout of 1977. Just look at that shot from Times Square. Con Edison right now reporting more than 38,000 customers are without power. We're seeing these numbers grow since the initial power outage was reported. And just moments ago, we got this.
Did you hear what she said? 42 years to the day and retrograde. 42 years ago to the day, the divine hand is speaking loud to his babies.
This update from Mayor Bill de Blasio.
Oh, I just want to give an update for people interested in the situation on the west side of Manhattan. We have a Con Edison electrical outage. A very preliminary information says about 20,000 people affected, but we're waiting for a lot more information. I spoke to our police commissioner, our emergency management commissioner, my chief of staff at City Hall. Everyone's coordinating. We'll have a better picture, in the next few minutes, or next half hour or so.
Look at this.
Sunday night, Saints and Sinners with the #1 most watched show on television.
Damn ass commercials. Hate them. All right, here we go.
But all of our emergency personnel are being deployed to address the situation. It appears to be a limited power outage, but still affecting a meaningful number of people for sure. See if there's any questions on that, and then otherwise on anything you want.
Again, Mayor Bill de Blasio there. He's on the campaign trail right now, not in New York, but he says he's in communication with people here in New York City. We're showing you pictures from around the city. I want to get to CNN's Brian Stelter joining us on the phone. Brian, I know you've been personally impacted by this since you weren't here at work when all of this began. We're seeing these incredible images, dark Radio City Music Hall, dark subways. What are you seeing?
Yes, and you're going to be able to hear some of the sirens around me on a lot of fire trucks, a lot of ambulances responding to the high-rise in Midtown Manhattan, because there are dozens of these buildings.
See, his phone is all choppy. Retrograde. It affects electronic devices. This shit is deep.
Obviously, we're having audio trouble with with Brian's audio. Brian, let's try to establish a better connection so we can hear what you're saying. I know you've been tweeting out a whole bunch about this. I know your wife, who's pregnant, has had to take stairs instead of the elevator because in New York, when one of these high rises runs out of power, the elevators obviously stop working. We know that fire and police have been called to a lot of those reports of people who are stuck in elevators. Traffic lights all around this part of New York City are out right now, and traffic in New York City is notoriously bad. We also know the subway stations aren't necessarily working the way they're supposed to, with New York City Transit Authority tweeting out moments ago that they're advising everybody to come out from underground if they're trying to take the subways. They're trying to get those working as well. Polo Sandoval is out and about gathering more information for us. Polo, tell us what you're seeing and what you've learned.
Well, Anna, for many people here in Midtown Manhattan, what's supposed to be a Saturday night catching a Broadway show is resulting basically in standing on a sidewalk here on a summer evening. This is a reality for many people, both New Yorkers and tourists. I'm going to be right off of 8th Avenue and West 52nd, so if you don't know New York too well, basically Times Square is just a couple of blocks that way as I pan over to show you what the situation looks like here on 52nd. Some of the people that you're looking at, all these people who are standing on a sidewalk, were waiting to go inside to catch a musical. But obviously about an hour ago, their plans interrupted, and now they're basically forced to wait out here. And as we pan over to give you kind of a shot, going to be looking north down 8th Avenue, which is a major avenue here, major thoroughfare in New York. You can see a lot of people are resorting now to the buses, because there are many subway stations that are closed. The one at Columbus Circle that I was at just a few moments ago, there was an attendant there that basically said that because of this partial blackout, that subway station was going to remain closed. And then finally, I will mention something that I noticed a little while ago. There were many employees from area businesses that essentially stepped into the streets to try to essentially direct traffic. Keep in mind that the traffic lights do not work here. And so the issue here is that a lot of people have to basically certainly look both ways before crossing, and so the employees at some of these businesses are now essentially manning these crosswalks and stopping traffic, because police are obviously have a pretty tough task ahead of them right now on us. So I'll keep showing you some of these pictures again in Midtown Manhattan as the streets look extremely packed with people who are planning for an evening, perhaps a dinner or a show, are instead forced to simply wait on a sidewalk to see what comes next.
And Polo, do you get the sense, are people panicking? What are you hearing from these people?
I think people are just wondering what's going on. There are a couple people that I've overheard a couple of jokes, right? There was I overheard one young woman who was just checking into her hotel for a week here in New York and said to me, it's going to be a long week. Obviously, if this keeps up, as they continue to get reports of people who, or rather updates from authorities, of course, they're certainly hopeful that this will get resolved before tonight. But I can tell you, having lived in New York here just a few years compared to many others, it really is a sight to see. It is, to a certain extent, even a little bit eerie, because as you look inside the businesses that would usually be bustling on a Saturday night, like your restaurants, your movie theaters, your Broadway theaters as well, they're all blacked out. The iconic Radio City Music Hall lights are dark on the...
Okay. Now, I said pay attention to language. Now, mainly you see Esau out there. And I said the way I approach when we in the retrograde phase is with respect. You see how the enemy get down? They foolish. People want to use elevators, and they don't want to be inconvenienced at all. They just want to continue to conduct themselves as business as usual, and they got that taken care of. Now, I know the enemy is over here listening to me, and while I am controlling you, and also the royal family is controlling you, you are showing, because this is your rotten ass system, how dumb to the motherfucking core you is. You have a major power outage, and your dumb ass is trying to use elevators, and your dumb ass is getting on subways and stuff. And when there is a major accident, you stay your ass on the streets, and you get yourself back to safety as possible. But they just aimlessly, joking and all of this because they don't want to be inconvenienced. And I want to go to a show, and I want to have a dinner and dancing and all of these type of things. So you have to do your own thinking. You have to make an executive decision. I done been around disastrous stuff, and me and my husband, even by myself, I do my own thinking and get myself back to my family. I'm not going to just be saying, oh, these people are going to come and help me. We seen what happened in Katrina, and our folks learned for 3 days. 3 days. Nobody didn't come and help them. We have to help ourselves because we don't want to take on this attitude. See, we've been in this system so long, we start mirroring the system. We start thinking like Esau and having that attitude like them. You know, it's like they put their food in a microwave and it ain't cooking it fast enough. That type of stuff. That's the stuff that gets me with these people, and that is their downfall. You know, they're not paying, you know, it's like, okay, like in Southern California, them people scared to death, they sleeping outside. You see how the enemy is? So, my royal family, as we continue on, I wanted to show y'all this on Twitter. So that's that famous billboard, and it, one of the billboards, and it said, all the giant monitors went out in Times Square. Things are extreme. So let's go back over here, my royal family, and did you hear how the mayor tried to downplay partial? It ain't partial, it's major, and your ass ain't showing respect either, because you know he didn't, even though he's not in town, he figured his folks got that taken care of. Now you listening to me? You see how foolish y'all is? Y'all ain't in control of nothing. The CERN is burning up your ass. We've been having multiple floods all through the winter. Now we in the summer. And then your leadership saying this is all a hoax. Not one damn time that motherfucker has went and stood before the people to give them, because when you are in a position of leadership, even if it's bullshit, you say something to the people to comfort them. See, Trump is playing like none of this is happening. You know, all these things that are going on, it's going to get louder and louder and louder. In my royal family, that's why our father said, ye be separate. Because if we don't start taking heed, we going to get caught up in the mix too. Respect the universe. Let's see if we can get it going. Let's refresh it, because this is a pretty good update. Because what they said, widespread New York power outage, crippled subway system, snarl traffic. Wow. Let's see what we got.
Get ready for Target Deal Days. It's 2 days of incredible.
I've been getting the blues. My computer's been acting a fool, and I made sure I cleaned up everything in mine. Or you can do what you can do and just go with the flow. Oh, wait a minute, let me get this going. Sound? Okay, bear with me.
Heinrich out on the streets of Midtown Manhattan and joining us. Jackie, as I walked up, there were huge crowds, there was confusion, but there didn't seem to be the kind of panic that you would expect of people in the middle of a city now dark.
Yeah, Leland, obviously a different scene than for those folks who might be in elevators or stuck underground in subway stations that don't have service right now. On the street here in Midtown Manhattan, people are actually kind of enjoying it. You've seen that some of the Broadway shows brought their concerts out onto the street. The cast of Waitress did the rest of their show, and a Carnegie Hall concert actually moved out onto the street. You can see that some of New York's finest are directing traffic, and people are getting along just the best they can, managing. The sun's gone down, so it's a little bit cooler. I'm here with a street vendor, Sharif. We were talking earlier, if you come over this way, just about where you were when the lights went dark, and you said that people were a little bit startled, but not panicked.
Yes, it happened 6:30. I try to meet somebody in the store here, and when we go inside the store, we see dark area and the store is shut down, and nobody can sell or buy anything. And today, anyway, very traffic in the 6th Avenue because...
And you're lucky tonight because you're running, I don't know if you can pan around with me, Jeremy, one of your street carts. You're a street vendor, so cash is king on a night like this. Although restaurants are shut down and people can't pay their bills at some of the areas that don't have power in Midtown and the Upper West Side, people are turning to you and other vendors who might use the cash apps or Square cards to make their transactions. And have you had a lot of folks who are hungry and maybe had to abandon their dinner plans come over to see you?
Yeah, whatever the people need to buy, I can sell all the food for the people because I see all the stores closed, and we try to help the customers.
Thank you so much, Sharif. And as you saw, some of the stores that were unable to close their metal barricades, that was one of the inconveniences for some of these areas that didn't have power. Some of those electrically generated closures saw folks at the Gap right across the street trying to pull down one of those metal barricades that you would normally just press a button to close. So those are some of the kinds of things that are happening here. So far, no reports of any injuries. Saw the last update from the fire department in New York saying that they were trying to get a hold on the transformer fire at the station, I believe it was in the 50s, but no injuries reported associated with that. And at the last update, the New York City subway system advising people just avoid underground subway stations and use buses if you can. As you can see behind me, traffic is moving. It's just being directed by hand from some of New York City's finest. And as you can see, the street lights are out. So right now, folks are just doing the best they can and waiting for the lights to come back on. And in the meantime, enjoying a simpler time, I guess. Leland?
Yeah, as you pointed out, Jackie, there's a lot of things we take for granted that you press a button, you expect to happen, and now without power, that is not happening. Right now, we are told that it was a transformer fire that has started this cascading effect across much of the Upper West Side of New York City. Now, 44,000 customers without power, but in New York, a customer can be an entire building, so that's why you're seeing, as we look up 6th Avenue, part of it free and void of cars. You can see some of the crosstown traffic moving. As Jackie pointed out, you had New York's finest directing traffic by hand. Jackie, wanted to ask you, in the minutes of this happening, and you were still here at the office, as you walked downstairs and then outside for this, was there panic? What was the general feel in those first couple of minutes? Was it fear? Give us an emotion.
Not at all. Folks are taking pictures, they're tweeting about it, they're talking to each other and sharing their experiences of where they were when the lights went out, whether they had to abandon their plans, whether they got out of their cab or left the place that they were headed to because they found out that their evening plans had been foiled. So more amusement than anything. Of course, want to be respectful of the people who are right now stuck in elevators and at some point might have been stuck in a subway tonight. We do know that rescues were happening on the west side of Manhattan. The fire department tweeting that they were doing at one point, responding to hundreds of calls for potential rescues for people who'd been trapped. But out on the street, people who are not trapped, they're not having a terrible time. They're smiling, they're looking at each other, they're tweeting. I believe the hashtag blackout was trending at one point on Twitter when I was still in the building. And at the moment that the lights went out a couple hours ago now, it was a little bit of a different scene. Folks were kind of wondering what was going on. You heard big announcements, even in our own building at 1211 Avenue of the Americas, corner of 6th and 48th Street. While I was in the studio ready to do my live shot, an announcement came in over our very own intercom telling folks who were working in the building that the elevators were down. We knew about, folks who might be trapped on floors. Here's the number that you call. And a lot of major businesses were doing that as well. AMC movie theater up in Lincoln Square evacuated everybody, said, sorry, you don't get to see your show tonight. Go ahead and proceed out into the street. And I think at that point there was a little bit more confusion, but people have cell phones these days. They know what's going on. They know it's a transformer fire that spurred this, and that so far there hasn't been any information as to any wider threat coming from any of our city officials. Nothing for people to be concerned about. Just more interested in when things are going to get back going. And I think the businesses who are losing money tonight are probably having the worst time of it. But for regular folks in the street, they're just talking to their neighbors and sharing their experiences about where.
I'm going to stop it for just a second, my royal family. Let me backtrack it just ever so slight. I'm going to point out two things. Okay. Let me see if it pops up. Oh, the first thing I'm going to... oh, there it is. It's right where I need it. Now, y'all know I'm into the numbers and everything. And it's a few of us over here on the True Royal family. Their number is 17. And sometimes... you'll see your number in reverse if it ain't 11, 11 or 22 or 33. And there is that 71. All right. Now, the earthquake that they had here in California, it was 7.1 on the Richter scale. All right. And you'll see that a lot. And there's some people that's they deeper into the numbers than me. This is like my third year. I'm still learning about it. Okay. Another thing. You see the number 11 up here. You see 911. All right. All right. But check out the 11. 11. And we were paying attention to that a few days ago. 11 means chaos. Wait a minute. I don't want to mess it up. I want to say it right. Let me get it right. I can't be sloppy with the royal family. Let me get it right. Oh, there it is. So let me hit it again. Okay. So number 11, what it means in the Bible, it symbolized disorder, chaos, judgment. Disorder, chaos, judgment. And during the retrograde phase, is always chaos, disorder. People are not using good judgment. You see these fools down here on the street and it's just jovial and we'll have a dinner and blah, 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 and all of this type of stuff like that. Because they don't respect the universe. This stuff is deep. We at that final stretch. In the next few weeks, we are out of our captivity. And it's going to get louder and louder. And we have been told we must separate. But they want to keep this going. That's what they want. This is all a charade. I'm wide awake. It's amazing. And I'm not going to approach this with fear. It's time for us to go home. Be humble. Be humble. Don't be proud, but be a warrior at the same time. So let's play the last little bit of this, and I'm going to close it out nice and sweet like I always do.
The businesses who are losing money tonight are probably having the worst time of it, but for regular folks in the street, they're just talking to their neighbors and sharing their experiences about where they were when it all happened.
Yeah, and then trying to get home. You noted, Jackie, the hashtag blackout. It was 42 years ago tonight of the massive blackout in 1977. They didn't have a hashtag back then, but they were certainly talking about it. Jackie's going to be out on the street talking to some folks. We're going to check back in with her here as the New York Police Department continues to try to get traffic moving.
Okay, that's it, my royal family, on that. And let's go back here. That's amazing. That is truly amazing. Now you see what I'm talking about in biblical proportions. Oh, because we're going to hear some more. We're going to hear some more. You know, they taking it all light. You heard fire. Said it was a fire. I didn't even know nothing about that because, you know, everything is still in real time. And they worried about getting them subways moving. See, we got to remember, my royal family, that we have to individually, when I say take care of your immediate situation, have an action plan with your family. How you going to survive if you're at home and it's a major disaster? How you going to survive in your car when it's a major disaster? You know, I keep telling the royal family, at least keep a hammer under your front seat and a utility knife, because you may get stuck in your car and you can take the utility knife and cut your way out of your seatbelt, because you know they can trap you and you may have to bust your window out. And somebody gonna have to remind me, because I'm doing a lot, that I will do, because I've only did one so far, video how to survive in disasters and everything. We cannot, my royal family, stand around and be the victim and stuff. We work collectively together. We don't have to ask this system permission for anything. And we got to start, thinking like that, because I'm still hearing, which I'm not surprised, and I'm not even putting anyone down, that they feel like they have to answer or to these folks and stuff. And this is all charades. Even in their minds, they don't even know what's about to hit their ass. And what I was thinking, playing this last video, I was thinking back when I learned about Sodom and Gomorrah and how the people just partied and they didn't give a damn. They sexing and drugging and just, doing God knows what. And it burnt down to rubble. To this day, not even a weed will grow over there. And it is fire and brimstone all out there. We must respect our Father. We must start atoning, getting our house in order. Because if some of us continue to have faith in the enemy and follow the enemy, it's like when I do that series, The Cave in the Combs. You're going to end up in the pit of hell. You can only save yourself. And you can't be foolish and be like a damn robot. We are unique. We don't go alone and get along. So I'll leave it there, my royal family. Render your voice with your beautiful divine words. And as always, my royal family, I thank you for your love. I thank you for your support. And with that said, Ashe.